Good morning, Patrick, Sadie, Chloe, Ace, Paige, Michael, Zachary, Logan, Spencer, Raylan, Olivia, Jenna, William, Ree, Dominic, Halen, Kira, Cody, John, Caden, Kellen, RJ, Nevaeh, and Miss Victoria. Well, this morning, Miss Burke wanted to read another book by Julia Donaldson. Remember, we read one on Monday, and it was called The Squeeze and the Squash. And she's the author of The Gruffalo, the book I gave to you, everyone. All right, so let's get started. Now you better be listening because I might have a question in here. And those of you that do answer the questions, we'll be getting, once we start back to school, we'll be getting an extra lunch with Miss Burke. Okay. So this is called The Smartest Giant in Town. George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and the same old patched up gown. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said sadly. Wow. Can you guys all see that he is scruffy? And scruffy just means his clothes aren't in the best shape. Or maybe he needs to put him in the laundry. But I don't know if he has a washer that big. And you guys all see the other giants in town? They're dressed very fancy. But one day, George noticed a new shop. It was full of smart clothes. So he bought a smart shirt, a smart pair of pants, a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, some smart socks with diamonds up the side, and a pair of smart shiny shoes. Now I'm the smartest giant in town, he said proudly. George left his old clothes behind in the shop. He was about to go home when he heard a sound. On the pavement stood a giraffe who was sniffing sadly. Oh, what's the matter? Asked George. It's my neck, said the giraffe. It's very long and so very cold. I wish I had a long, warm scarf. I know scarves sure do come in handy when you're cold. These smaller people found these clothes and giant shoes. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his stripy tie. It didn't match my socks anyway, he said, as he wound it round and round and round the giraffe's neck. It made a wonderful scarf. Thank you, said the giraffe. As George strode towards home, he sang to himself, my tie is a scarf for an old cold giraffe, but look me up and down. I'm still the smartest giant in town. I bet you guys could sing that so much better than Miss Burke. Maybe you should try it at home. Oh, there's the words. George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat who was bleating loudly. What's the matter? Asked George. Wait a minute. I heard a rhyming word. Boat and goat. Very cool. It's myself, said the goat. It blew away in a storm. I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat. Okay, here's the question of the day. Remember, you have to put it in your answer in the comments. The question is, what do you think George is going to do? The goat says he needs a new sail for his boat. What do you think George is going to do? Okay, I'm going to give you a second. I want you to think. All right. Got it in your brain? Okay, here we go. Let's see what he does. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his new white shirt. It kept getting untucked anyway, he said, as he tied it to the mast of the goat's boat. It made a magnificent sail. Thank you, said the goat. George strode on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. But look me up and down. I'm the smartest giant in town. Were any of you right? Let me know. Remember, those comments get an extra lunch once we start back to school. An extra lunch with Miss Burt. Not 2 lunches in one day, though. George came to a tiny, ruined house. Beside the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking, squeak, 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 squeak. What's the matter? Asked George. It's our house, squeaked the mother mouse. It burned down and now we have nowhere to live. I wish we had a new, nice house. Oh, here's where you can make another prediction. What do you think George is going to do? Oh my goodness, what is he going to do? Cheer up, said George, and he took off one of his shiny shoes. It was giving me blisters anyway, he said, as the mouse and her babies scrambled inside. The shoe made a perfect home for them. Thank you, they squeaked. George had to hop along the road now, but he didn't mind. As he hopped, he sang to himself, My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. But look me up and down. I'm the smartest giant in town. George came to a campsite. Beside a tent stood a fox who was crying. What's the matter? Asked George. It's my sleeping bag, said the fox. I dropped it in a puddle. I wish I had a warm sleeping bag. Oh, sorry, a warm, dry sleeping bag. Cheer up, said George, and he took off one of his socks with the diamonds up the side. It was tickling my toes anyway, he said, as the fox snuggled into it. It made a very fine sleeping bag. Thank you, said the fox. George hopped on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of my socks is a bed for a fox. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. We're getting more and more rhyming words, aren't we? Yes, we are. We are getting a ton of rhyming words. George came to a big squelchy bog. Beside the bog stood a dog who was howling. What's the matter? Asked George. It's this bog, said the dog. I need to get across, but I keep getting stuck in the mud. I wish there was a safe, dry path. Oh, safe. Oh, that's an important word, safe. because you don't want to take an unsafe dry path. You could still get hurt. Yeah. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his smart new belt. It was squashing my tummy anyway, he said, as he laid it down over the bog. It made an excellent path. Thank you, said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of my socks is a bed for a fox. My belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog, but... Oh my goodness. Poor George is having to hop now. Oh my goodness, I don't know. My trousers are falling down. I'm the coldest giant in town. Suddenly, George felt sad and shivery and not at all smart. He stood on one foot and thought, I'll have to go back to the shop and buy some more clothes, he decided. He turned around and hopped all the way back to the shop. Now this next picture is silly. Don't laugh too hard. Look at poor George. His pants are falling down. I saw it. But when he got there, it was closed. Oh no, cried George. He sank down onto the doorstep and a tear ran down his nose. He felt as sad as all the animals he had met on his way home. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something familiar poking out of the top. George took a closer look. My gown, he yelled, my dear old gown and sandals. George put them on. They felt wonderfully comfortable. I'm the coziest giant in town, he cried, and he danced back home along the road. Oh, sometimes it's so nice to wear comfy clothes. But then sometimes you can dress up and get all fancy schmancy. Outside his front door stood all the animals he had helped. They were carrying an enormous present. Come on, George, they said, open it. George untied the ribbon. Inside was a beautiful gold paper crown and a card. Look inside the card, George, said the animals. George put the crown on his head and opened the card. Your tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. So here is a very fine crown to go with the sandals and gown of the kindest giant in town. Oh, there's a triple rhyming word. Did anyone hear it? Oh, I did. I heard crown and town and yes, you got it. Good job. And that was the end. Now, I want to share all the books that this author has read, or written, I'm sorry. She and the illustrator who draws the pictures have written all these books, and look, there is Gruffalo. Oh, try and read that tonight. All right, I'm going to see you back here bright and early tomorrow.